Does USC football need to make a coaching change? Two national brands are meeting in the World Series. And does Los Angeles have a new top dog in the NBA? All of that and more coming right up. It's the Water Cooler. Where else would you rather be? Good morning and welcome to the Water Cooler, your home for USC Sports Banter. I'm your host, Thomas Johnson. And it's a tradition at this point. The Water Cooler had our very own MJ Newsome at CQ Stadium for yet another blown lead and loss from USC football at Maryland. Let's hear from him on the 29-28 defeat.
Another week, same story. USC had a chance to put this game away, go up 3 scores, and capable of doing so in the fourth quarter. Allows Maryland to fight back. Credit to Maryland, guys. I mean, blocking a field goal late, USC would have gotten a 9-point lead, drives down the field, scores, crafty 2-point conversion earlier in the fourth quarter for Maryland as well. USC now falls under 500 for the first time under Lincoln Riley. It's the first time Lincoln Riley has done that as a head coach as well. The conversations continue. How does Lincoln Riley manage the game late? What changes need to be made? And, I mean, is Lincoln Riley, how warm is his seat? I answer the question now. USC's got a chance to rebound on Friday. It's a short week against Rutgers before traveling to Washington, then get likely a much-needed bye. So what's USC going to do? Regroup. Got to get a win. Got to try to get back to 500.
I'm joined now by Hayes Flanagan, Stefano Fendrich, and making his grand return to the desk, MJ Newsome, who is back from Maryland. Let's get right into it with Water Cooler talk. Roll the bump. Like MJ mentioned, USC football is in the dumps. It was a similar story between the Penn State and Maryland games for the Trojans. USC had a 14-point lead at halftime and blew it. Despite leading in the fourth quarter in all of their games, the Trojans sit at 3-4. Yes, that's right. USC has led in the final quarter every single week, and yet it has a losing record. So that leads us into our first question. We briefly talked about it last week, but now it's our main question. Is it too early for Athletic Director Jen Cohen to pull the plug? I'm probably the worst brisket cooker I've ever seen.
I mean, I'll say this. Riley's seat is getting preheated at best. And let's be real, his play calling has been questionable at best, but awful at worst. Let me just run you through a possession with 10 minutes left in the game. They're leading by 6. Here are the play calls. Pass, run, pass, 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 run, pass. What are you doing? I mean, why is Miller Moss throwing the ball 50 times a game, when especially you have your running back averaging 4.8 yards per carry in the game? It's getting ridiculous. It's time to hold Lincoln Riley accountable. You've had 4 of the exact same awful losses at this point. It's not an irregularity, it's a trend. And that's the mark of a bad team, not a good one, to keep losing in the same way. I'll say this. He's on the hot seat for me. I don't think he should be fired at the end of this season, but next season, I'm going to have a lot more questions for Lincoln Riley.
Should he be fired? No. Will he be fired? No, because there's $88 million left on this guy's contract. So USC can't take that hit, and we all know that. No matter how much money we have, that's just way too much money. But Rome wasn't built in a day. He has got a lot of recruits coming in. He had to hire, as we talked about last week, an entire brand new coaching staff. He's had to fire people he brought over from Oklahoma. You have to give someone time. One of the greatest coaches in the Big Ten and legendary Kirk Ferentz, he started his first 3 seasons at Iowa 2-18.
Well, do we want USC to be like
No,
Iowa?
But it's like at some point that is a legendary coach. Has he won a national championship? No, but you want your team, you want your coach to have an overall winning record and to have a historic, to be marked as a historic coach. And is Lincoln Riley there? Not even close. But do you have to give him time? Yes.
Well, Hayes, you mentioned that big buyout, and somewhere Jimbo Fisher is sitting on his couch smiling because he got that big payout from Texas A&M when he cannot close the deal. I agree with both of you guys. I think it is still too early for Lincoln Riley to be fired. The conversations should be there. I agree. He has not performed to the standards that USC expected him to do, and of course, his first season here. USC nearly makes the playoff. Everyone expects it to be great the next couple years. It hasn't been that way. But the program is trending in the right direction. You have a big win against LSU, who likely, if they win this weekend against A&M, they got a great shot to win the SEC. You've had a very close loss at Michigan, which Michigan hasn't been up to par, but it's still a good loss. Overtime loss against Penn State, sure. Like you said, you've led in all fourth quarters. Those are bad losses. It doesn't excuse Minnesota and Maryland. The program is trending in the right direction. You talked about Kirk Ferentz. Let's talk about Jim Harbaugh. His first 6 seasons at Michigan were not great. 49-19. It's a better record than Riley is at least projected to get there. But 0 wins against Ohio State. Did not live up to his standards, and then all of a sudden turned it around. 3 straight Big Ten titles and a national championship. Give the guy time.
Well, mind you, Jim Harbaugh did cheat a little bit to get that way. We'll see if Lincoln Riley pulls from that well, too. And I'm going to agree with all three of you. And it goes back to the old adage of sports. And you remove that first year from Lincoln Riley, you got to lose big before you lose small. You got to lose small before you win small, and you got to win small before you win big. USC is losing small right now. They've lost by a combined 14 points in their 4 games. That's an average losing margin of 3.5 points. So I think we're all on the same train that Lincoln Riley has a little bit more time. Has a little bit more time to revamp this program just a little bit more. But USC sits at 17th in the Big Ten. In the conference, sorry, needed to take a pause to let that sink in. But yes, 17th in the Big Ten. So conference title is out of the question. There are still 3 teams undefeated in the conference, including a major surprise in Indiana, along with multiple strong one-loss teams. So who is y'all's pick to win the first new-look Big Ten?
Why not Indiana? Give me the Hoosiers. They've been saying it all week. Why not us? Why not us? And I'm starting to believe. You know, I could sit up here and talk about how Rourke is top 15 in passing yards, top 15 in touchdowns, leading the FBS and passer rating. This is a top 10 defense in the country, but the thing that gets it done for me, this team is gritty. You have Kurt Gennetti, who is a proven winner. He's going to get it done. Their closest game was 42-28. I mean, they're blowing people out of the water. This team is battle-tested. They have a chance to prove themselves later down the line against Ohio State, but especially this year, when no team has really looked like a world beater. I wouldn't be surprised if Indiana sneaks in, takes home that Big Ten title, and then who knows from there? I mean, championship aspirations.
I mean, who have they played?
Yeah, I was just about to say, who have they played?
You can only play who's in front of you. You can only play who's in front of you.
Yeah, but you get to choose your contender here. Like,
and
you
I'm
get
saying, Indiana, I'm looking at the tape, Thomas.
So you think they'll beat Ohio State?
I don't think it. I know it.
Wow.
Oh, wow. We'll check back in 2 weeks.
We'll check back in 2 weeks, and we'll see.
All right, mark it down here.
Why not Indiana? That's what
I'm so sorry, but I have to go with the obvious. The Oregon Ducks, the #1 in the nation. Come on, you can't say that game versus Ohio State wasn't electric. One, you have a new Big Ten team coming in and showing who's boss. That's pretty sick. I mean, if you look at the other 3 teams, Washington, UCLA, and USC, they're all at the bottom of the Big Ten. So at least we got someone representing at the top from a former Pac-12 team. You also have Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Maryland, and Washington coming up. I mean, come on. Who is there? Where is their competition there? Illinois, some people may say, but that Oregon team is built to crush a team like Illinois. Crush. And so I don't see them losing anytime soon. They have good wins versus Ohio State, Boise State, and Oregon State. They're up there. They're ready. They'll beat whoever they face, if that's Penn State, if that's not
Indiana.
Really Indiana. But they'll go to Indianapolis and they'll win that game. I'm very confident.
MJ, you've been mighty silent.
I've been waiting my turn. And Hayes, this morning I woke up and I was flying south with the Ducks, and I thought Oregon was going to win the Big Ten. And then this sudden urge in me said, hold on a second. It's going to be the Penn State Nittany Lions. It's finally James Franklin's year to get his guys on the right track. And I think that Penn State is the most complete Nittany Lions squad we've seen in a long time. I love the backfield of Katron Allen and Nicholas Singleton. It is a two-headed monster. Is it as good as Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins at Ohio State? I don't think so. But next week in Happy Valley, Ohio State, Penn State, big noon kickoff. Penn State's going to get it done, and here's why. Ryan Day cannot win the big game, and that has been the knock on his career his entire time at Ohio State. He can't do it. He couldn't win in Oregon. He hasn't beaten Michigan in 3 seasons. He will not beat James Franklin this year. This is the year that Penn State's going to do it. I love Tyler Warren at tight end, and I think Drew Aller is going to rise above in his 3rd season and get Penn State to that Big Ten championship.
So James Franklin can't really close either, and Drew Aller hasn't closed anything. So what makes you think
hold on.
that
You said he didn't close anything. Did you watch the game 2 weeks ago here at the Coliseum? He
Yeah,
stormed back.
That was Tyler Warren half the time.
But Drew Aller threw him the football. All I'm saying is Penn State proved that against a team that people have said, like Joel Klatt, I don't care if USC is 3-4, they're still not a bad team. Joel Klatt's a respectable person in college football. He said USC, at least before last loss to Maryland, was the 5th best team in the Big Ten. He believed in USC, as did most people. I think USC is a better team than the record suggests, and we've talked about this. Penn State found a way on the road across the entire country to storm back and win that game in overtime. Extremely impressed with them.
I'm sorry, James Franklin is like the Bronny Jameses of Ryan Day. If Ryan Day can't coach a big game, James Franklin can't. And I'm honestly thinking it's Ryan Day's term. Ohio State, they have the best roster. They have a chip on their shoulder losing to Oregon. And mind you, that game was on the road for Ohio State, and they lost by 1 point. Sure, that was a bad loss for Ohio State, but it's super hard to beat really good teams twice. If Ohio State and Oregon meet in the Big Ten Championship, I think Ohio State pulls out the win. Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins have combined for 7.84 yards per carry and 776 yards. That rushing attack is unlike any in the country. I just don't think Oregon, Penn State, Indiana, Illinois, any of these teams can match up to that potential. But let's move over from college football to the pros. We'll still talk about the young guys. There are multiple young players this season who are making leaps and bounds in the league and looking to make an impact for years to come. So who are your guys' breakthrough players this season?
So for my mental health, I'm not going to give too many opinions about the Jets, but that man in the top left corner, Garrett Wilson, is the one glimmer of hope I have every Sunday. So the Jets, they made the trade for Devontae Adams. That's that. But the good thing with that is now the number 1 corner is no longer going to be shadowing Garrett Wilson with some safety help over the top. Garrett Wilson is going to have a lot more freedom to explode in this offense, to develop, to get different kind of route combos. I mean, he had back-to-back 1,000-yard seasons with Tim Boyle and Zach Wilson throwing him the ball. So he just needs to get on the same page as Aaron Rodgers. I mean, look at him. Look how dynamic he is. You can't even bring him down. But he just needs to settle in this new offense, and he's going to shine. I mean, we've seen him at Ohio State, in New York. It doesn't matter who's throwing him the ball. He's dynamic. He's a real talent. And I'm excited to see what he's going to do the rest of the year.
I'm going to keep it in the Big Ten with you. I'm going to go with my man Kenneth Walker. And Thomas, I know this just makes you happy. It likes a smile on your face. Kenneth Walker in year 3, man, he showed glimmers last year of being a really good back. And this year, even missing 2 games, he has been an absolute monster. Just a touchdown machine. 7 touchdowns in 5 games and had his Michael Jordan flu game last week on his birthday in Atlanta. Guy's also a fantasy machine. I'm thankful I have him. He has been a baller for me. And I just love the way that Kenneth Walker runs. He runs angry. He runs hard. Just watch.
Oh, wow, look at that.
The cuts, the precision, and he's strong too. Shaking off tacklers. Look at the leap. He's having some fun out there in Seattle. I love the way that Kenneth Walker has run. He has proven in year 3 he is an alpha among the NFL and running backs.
Coming out of Jacksonville, I got Tank Bigsby. If you're going to bet anyone, anytime touchdown in the weeks coming up, bet Tank Bigsby. He is having a season for himself. In 7 games, he has 4 touchdowns, 67 carries, and 415 yards. He had a rough, this is his 2nd season in the NFL. Last year, he was plagued with injury. I'm not saying the Jags are anything special, but he is carrying this team on his back, even if Trevor Lawrence can't do it himself. I was in London, and I watched that, and that was the only thing that was stopping the Bears' defense. I mean, he is a running back unlike any other. He's a league-high 5.3 yards after contact per carry, 4th highest missed tackle forced. He is a force to be reckoned with. I love Tank Bigsby.
Well,
and he's got a great name.
It's a great name.
It's
Arguably the best name we're talking about.
Can't argue that.
It's the Tank. Come on.
Well, I'm going to go to a similar route with MJ and go to somebody on my fantasy team, and that's Zay Flowers. And I think the stats are a little bit underwhelming. He's 17th in the NFL with his 412 yards. but he is over 100 yards in 2 of his last 3 games. Got injured last game, so that's why he didn't have 100 yards in that game. That's what I'll say. And he's overshadowed by Derrick Henry, who leads the league in rushing, and Lamar Jackson, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. But Zay Flowers has been playing great this year, second year out of Boston College. The Ravens' leading receiver, one of the best teams. I mean, he can do it all. He can catch screens like that and just sprint off. He's good in deep plays, too. I really like Zay Flowers. I think he's one of the best young receivers in the league in what was kind of a stacked draft class. And so I love Zay Flowers. I think he's going to be doing great for years to come. And we just talked about 2 running backs who are young and leading the league. But it's been weird. It's kind of been the old heads. And I'll say one old head in particular. 31-year-old Derrick Henry leads the league in rushing yards. And I think that's an interesting topic to talk about. We've seen the role of a running back kind of degrade in the most recent years. Many running backs not getting second contracts. Derrick Henry kind of proving them wrong. Do we think this is a shift in the trends in the NFL?
You could also say that for Saquon, too.
He is he's still in his late 20s. I don't know if I want to call him an old head.
But he like a lot of people would consider
He's an
him,
old head in terms of NFL running.
I mean, people really thought that he
Those
was
careers
done.
are so minute. They're so short.
Yeah, and I've never heard more about someone than Derrick Henry's. How he spends like millions of dollars on his post-game recovery. I mean, if you're going to be old and you're going to be a running back, then you better spend millions of dollars. He said all he does on Tuesdays is cold plunge and sauna and recover, and that's what you need when you're an old head and killing it out there.
Normal Wednesday for Thomas, but Derrick Henry has been a beast. It doesn't matter. I mean, I honestly, after last season, I thought he would take a step back this season, but it has been anything but that. I mean, I think he has like 200 more yards than the next closest running back.
Well, he's been looking really impressive. Hopefully that'll continue on for him. But we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we talk the World Series, the WNBA Finals, and some Los Angeles basketball. The water cooler will resume shortly. Welcome back to the water cooler. I'm Thomas Johnson, joined alongside Jack Hallinan, Kyle Frankel, and Sebastian Bustamante. Major League Baseball is regressing to the mean this season after extremely low viewership of the World Series last season between the Rangers and the Diamondbacks. This year, numbers are expected to explode because of the gravity of the matchup. There are no 2 brands larger than the New York Yankees and the Los Angeles Dodgers, and that is the matchup we get this season. So my first question to you guys is, do you love or hate this matchup? The fact that it's Dodgers-Yankees.
I like when the big teams have to play each other. I mean, we also haven't gotten this World Series since the 80s. So it's going to be historic. Like, this is going to be something that the country rallies around when baseball doesn't feel like one of our biggest sports anymore. It's got the biggest stars, Ohtani, Soto, Judge. This is going to be an incredible series, and I'm excited to tune in.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I'm upset that my Mets couldn't make it a Subway Series, but anybody who says that this series is disappointing or is upset about it, they're just a hater. They're just lying. Because everybody was upset last year when it was the Diamondbacks and the Rangers, and it was 2 Cinderellas and 2 teams we don't see there often. That series wasn't that great. Now we got the 2 powerhouses, the 2 evil empires, 2 marquee franchises, and 2 of the biggest stars in the game. It's going to be a tremendous World Series. I think it's going to go 7. I think it's going to be great for the sport, great for baseball.
Yeah, I mean, I like it. Obviously, a little emotionally distraught as well about the Mets. Not a conversation I want to get into, but, I mean, this is the first time the Yankees have been in the World Series in 15 years. As Jack mentioned, it's 43 years since the Dodgers and Yankees have gone up against each other. They just got Shohei. This is exactly what you want to see if you're an MLB executive, a team owner, or just a baseball fan in general. It's going to be an amazing series. It's going to be high-level play. It's anyone's game.
Well, hey, at least the Mets have both Grimace and the Rizzler. But now looking at the matchup itself, which player from either team is under the most pressure to add a ring to their resume?
It's got to be Aaron Judge, right? I mean, he's one of the MLB's best sluggers, and he's notoriously underperformed historically in the playoffs. And obviously, Shohei Ohtani wants to add a ring to his legacy, but the Dodgers have won a little bit more recently, whereas the drought's been longer for the Yankees. And it feels like Judge might be the icon who might be able to put them over the edge if he just regresses to the mean. He doesn't have to be above and beyond. He just has to do better than he normally does in the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's going to sound boring, but it's obviously Aaron Judge. As Jack said, he's been underperforming in the playoffs. He's only batting .161 these playoffs, 5 hits, got 13 Ks. He's just been unproductive at the plate, and he just hasn't been what the Yankees need him to be. The Dodgers have a ton of star power, and not only star power, a ton of just firepower in general on offense. And the Yankees are going to need Aaron Judge to be Aaron Judge and not the playoff Aaron Judge that we've seen thus far. Because if he wins this championship for New York, for the Yankees, he's already a legend. He'll be immortalized in New York history. But if he loses his championship and he plays bad, I can see some Yankees fans the way they are.
Oh, the Yanks fans?
The Yankees fans starting to turn on him a little bit, starting to get a little angry at their guy.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that we're all going with the same guy just lets you know how much is really on the line here. I mean, he also had a phenomenal regular season. 58 home runs, 144 RBIs, even led the league in walks, actually. Fun fact, Kyle, that was for you. And so, yeah, I mean, he's had a sluggish postseason, but now it's the World Series. No one's going to care how he did in these previous games if he clutches up now. You don't want to be the guy that's remembered that when it didn't matter, there was no pressure on the line, you played great, but eventually when the lights came on, no one was home.
And it's tough to have a cool nickname and then not show up.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
Well, y'all are sticking with Aaron Judge. I'm going to go with Giancarlo Stanton. It's his 15th season in Major League Baseball. He's a 34-year-old, just doesn't have a ring to his name. I think he needs to win it the most. Doesn't have to play great because they have Aaron Judge, but I think Stanton would really like a ring to his resume. But sticking with a sports final round, let's look at the WNBA Finals. The New York Liberty won a thriller of a 5-game set, beating the Minnesota Lynx in overtime in Game 5. 4 Liberty players hit double-digit points in the win, and New York pulled out the victory despite a 1-for-19 shooting night from Sabrina Ionescu. Game 5 had great viewership, making it the most-watched WNBA Finals game in 25 years. This was despite the game happening on Sunday night and conflicting with Sunday Night Football. So we at the water cooler are going to pull out our thinking caps.
Really?
And we're going to talk about, thank you, it's a great hat. What do we think the league has to do to continue to grow this brand and capitalize on what they have going?
I think you got to stay the course, and the hype's going to sustain itself. I mean, the rookie class that we just got between Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Cameron Brink, they have immense social media followings and have brought a lot more attention to the league than it had the previous season. And look, like there's some great teams in this league, the Liberty, Lynx, the Aces, they're not going anywhere. But once we get these teams that were on the bottom and now have these rookies coming up into the postseason and maybe headed to the finals eventually, I think it's going to be a natural boost for the league on it, as it just keeps riding this wave.
Yeah, I mean, along those lines, the league just has to continue to promote these young players as they come up, because especially with the way that NIL has changed college sports, changed these players' social media presence, and just overall fame, not only are the players coming up through college amazing at basketball, but they're famous. They're celebrities in a way that they haven't necessarily been in the past with this new NIL. So with Caitlin Clark, with Angel Reese, you see them getting shoe deals, getting these sponsorships so quickly into their careers. The WNBA has to continue to lean into this younger generation and let them kind of carry the league in a sense as the years go on.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree. And also, it's not just about the play style. I mean, yes, the Caitlin Clark effect, she's phenomenal. Angel Reese averaging 13 points, 13 boards for the injury. But it's also the sports personality that they're bringing on the court and off the court. I mean, there are people who want to tune into their social media pages, and they want to know what these players are up to. They talk a lot, man. They're chirpers, and I love the rivalries, and that's exactly what we have in the NBA. And the WNBA is a business. So at the end of the day, like Kyle said, NIL is essential. Bringing in new prospects. Juju Watkins is coming in. Mackenzie Forbes, the guard from UConn, Page. That's what's going to keep sustaining the hype. And if they keep this trajectory going, I mean, attendance is the highest it's ever been in 22 years. So WNBA, keep doing what you're doing.
Well, I liked what you brought up about Mackenzie Forbes, because she's no longer in the WNBA. She was drafted out of USC, but is now playing in either Australia or New Zealand. I know she's switched around a couple of times. And I think that's what the league needs to do, is expand. The league definitely has to expand to more teams, because there are just such few players in the league. These players play in college. There's so many colleges, and then it's just a bottleneck into the WNBA. And so you're not getting the carryover from women's college basketball fans that you're getting to the WNBA. The Golden State Valkyries just recently announced that they're now expanding to join the WNBA. And I think the league just has to continue to do that. And I know it's a business. I know you can't just expand at will. But the league has something. They have something here, and I think they just need to continue to expand, get more players in the league. But we're going to take a local look to basketball to close out our show. It's time for the great debate. Roll the bump. The Los Angeles Lakers have long dominated the LA basketball market, but the Clippers are trying to get out of the little brother description. Clippers owner Steve Ballmer has invested a lot of money into this team, including building the Intuit Dome. But do you think his strategies will work? Is there ever going to be a time that the Clippers even close the gap with the Lakers?
As long as they are disastrous at team building, I don't think it's going to happen. I mean, they traded so much. They lost control of all of their picks for the foreseeable future to get Paul George and James Harden into LA, and it hasn't paid off. So now you're looking at yourself as a free agent destination, not by choice, but because that's all that's left for you. And I don't see on this list in front of me the players and the years that are going to be able to sustain this team and make them competitive, not just in the West, but with the Lakers until 2028, like when some of these guys start when their contracts start expiring. Excuse me. So it's just hard to see a pathway for the Clippers to jump over the Lakers here.
But they got a 6 stadium. 16. And let me say, hold up. I was there for Billy Joel a couple weeks ago.
Oh, well, thank you.
John Mayer and
That
Axl
clears
Rose out.
everything
It
up.
was sick. No big deal. This stadium, 1,160 toilets, 3 times the NBA average.
We're talking
Never
toilets.
have to wait in line for the bathroom. Face scans to get your concessions. Just an unbelievable fan experience. The wall is unlike anything I've ever seen. The Suns the other night shot 85% from the free throw line. In the first half, 57 without the wall. This stadium's going to take it. The Lakers want to be historic. They're running daddy daycare over there. It's a family vacation with every trip.
Is Ballmer going to hang a most toilets banner, or what are we going
He
for
should.
here?
He should.
Well, Sebastian, I really want to hear from you, but we do have something special planned to close out our show. So we're going to toss to that. To wrap up the show, let's take a look at 2 athletes owed to history. It's time for final memos. Roll the bump. There is a new era of sports stars in the state of Minnesota in Timberwolves guard Anthony Edwards and Vikings wide receiver Justin Jefferson. The two recently paid homage to former Minnesota sports stars Kevin Garnett and Randy Moss by recreating their iconic photo. I mean, just take a look at this. This is pretty exciting stuff. A lot grainier a photo just because to show the age.
Jetta's didn't necessarily match the face, though. Not great.
He didn't.
A couple discrepancies here for sure.
But you know who did match the face? I think we at the water cooler pretty accurately captured the aura of Anthony Edwards and Justin Jefferson. So let's take a look at that photo. And it's pretty exciting stuff, might I say. This was taken a little bit earlier today. Me and Kyle sported the USC gear. I don't know if I've seen a better recreation of a photo ever.
This guy looks like a Heisman winner.
I think I am a Heisman winner.
Yeah.
I would say aura captured.
Well, I've also heard you called. I've heard you called the Anthony Edwards of the pickup game.
Don't start with this.
Let's not start spreading that around. Let's keep that on the DL.
But that is all the time we have today on the water cooler. For our entire cast and crew, I'm Thomas Johnson. We will see you next time on the water cooler.